this question of honoring father and mother, so that came up earlier. So let's just look at it. Because some fathers abuse their children. Well, we haven't talked about, I haven't mentioned, I told somebody last night, but when Daniel was 3 years old, I whacked him across the face like this. I'm not going to go into the details. We've talked about it before. But how is he to honor the man who, when he was 3 years old, like this big, hit him like this? So there's that biblical injunction, honor thy father and mother so things will go well with you. But is that an impossible, arbitrary and authoritarian demand on the part of a dictatorial God? Or is there some wisdom in it? So that's the question. So when parents have not treated you well, as parents often don't, or have treated you badly, as parents often do, what the heck does it mean, or does it mean anything at all, to honor your father and your mother? Mm-hmm. And if so, what the heck are you honoring anyway? Or is there anything even there to honor? I'm putting that, I have my own particular answer to that, which is not necessarily satisfactory, but I'm just curious what you think about that. Does that question mean anything to you? And if so, what answer do you have for it? Is it wisdom, or is it an impossible dictatorial demand? What is it? Which is it? Yeah.
My father, he was in and out of my life. And when he found out I was pregnant by an Arab, he was displeased. But when he needed to come home because he was going through treatment and all this and that, I welcomed him into my home because I always wanted my dad, you know. Mm. And he ended up molesting my daughter. Mm. And I just, discarded him, kicked him to the curb, and, it put a big strife in our family.
What do you mean kicked him to the curb?
I disowned him as father. You're not my father.
I see, okay.
And so, the years went by, and he got cancer. Mm. And my brothers and sisters, or my sisters, not my brothers, my sisters all, Shelly, Dad wants to see you. He's in hospice. Nope. He can go to hell for all I care,
Yeah.
And a friend of mine at work, she was a true Christian woman. And I was just, really had this dichotomy inside me, and I don't know what to do. What should I do? They want me to go see him, and he's gonna die. Can I say my words to him that I want to say?
Yeah.
And she said, your job is not to judge your dad. Your job is to love and honor your mother and father. Mm. So you need to go to him and forgive him. And so I did. I said, okay, let me go. And so I went to the hospital, and he was kind of, eyes closed and whatnot. And I just said, Dad, I love you. You're my father, and you really betrayed me and my child. And now you're going to go see your judge. I can't judge you. I forgive you. And a tear rolled down his eye. Mm. And he died that night. Mm. So he waited,
And where did that leave you?
And it relieved me. It really did. I mean, I'm still mad as hell that he did that. Yeah. But you know what? I let it go. I mean, I let it fly. That hurt.
But you didn't lie about it.
No.
You didn't kiss his boo-boo and make it okay.
No.
You spoke, and that's how you honored him.
Yeah.
And that's how Usher in this show honors his mother and father in the end. They've been bugging him to write them a gospel play, like a Tyler Perry kind of Christian evangelical play, and he hates Tyler Perry with all his guts. And he ends up doing it. But he writes one that shows them the impact of homophobic hate in the black church on young black gay men. And there's a song called AIDS is God's Punishment, and he dresses up as a preacher, and it's torturous. It goes on for 10 minutes, and he's, trying to get the audience to clap along to AIDS is God's Punishment. He's just showing them what he's absorbed his whole life. And his mother comes out in her bathrobe. She says, "What are you doing? Stop. Why are you doing this to us?" He says, "Because I love you." And he honors her enough to tell her the truth she doesn't want to hear about him. So one of the things that parents don't get to do is to dictate to their children what honoring their mother and father will look like. You don't get to do it. You can hope for it.
But I'm coming back to the question of
What does it mean?
What does it mean to honor then? I mean, is it possible?
What I'm hearing in that story is that yes, it is.
Yeah, that's what I heard as well. I'm just asking for other feedback on that. Yeah, is there somebody going to? Yeah, Edward? Yeah.
Very moving, by the way. It brought tears to my eyes. Well, I've been really weepy today anyway, but you know, sometimes I think honoring the mother and the father, capital T-H, you know, the yin yang, the masculine, the feminine, the creative forces. I mean, I do understand that having balance within oneself is very helpful. But sometimes to honor, for me, is that my father had his journey. And it was okay to let him be on his journey, that I didn't have to come and have this, you know, deathbed sort of absolving him, or, you know, my resentment, that resentment, I resolved in my relationships with healthier people.
Yeah.
Very good.
You know,
I love that.
Yeah, and so it's just painful, the pain we inflict on one another. We see it all over the world. As, you know, my imaginary friend says, this is the way it should be.
Yes.
My imaginary friend says I should kill you because you are an infidel or whatever. It's painful.
It is. But I love the outside the box, non-binary, non-linear resolution of that. It's a third way, which is to say, I honor the paternal principle, and I honor you enough to leave you alone and to not seek from you what you cannot give me.
That's it.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Good one, sir.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, this is so really not just eye-opening. I mean, I was kind of aware of the whole dynamics around the thing and the what I brought up earlier around the honoring your mother and your father. And I think everything that has been talked about just highlights the fact that I believe that God put that in there not because he knew how mothers and fathers would be. I think he put it in there for us, the same as for the forgiveness thing. You forgive not for that person, you forgive for yourself.
Right.
And I think it's a path. He's opening up for you a path to your own truth and your own who you are. And if you can find a way, the path of finding that way of what she was just talking about brings you to more of your own truth than you had before. And so he's just so smart. Like, that's the way I see it. And the only other thing I wanted to say is I always look at these kinds of things, and I find it interesting that people overlook what he said do first, which is to love before you, and they skip over all that and get to you judge and repent. And I don't believe Jesus is looking at people that way. So.
None of the textual evidence suggests that he is.
Yeah. Thank you. There's a psychotherapist who's 95 years old now, lives here in California. Her name is Edith Eger, E-G-E-R. She wrote a book called The Gift. The first book was called The Secret. Now she's 95. Edith is from southern Slovakia, which is where my mother's from. She's from the same town. And Edith, when she was 16 years old, was probably on the same train to Auschwitz that my grandparents were on, along with her own parents. My grandparents didn't survive. Her parents didn't survive. She did. And she ended up coming to the States, becoming a psychotherapist, very beloved figure. And she talks about, at some point, going back to the Berghof, which is Hitler's residence in the Bavarian Alps, and forgiving Hitler. And which doesn't mean for her that anything he did was okay. It wasn't okay. But it's what I heard you just say, is that the forgiveness is that he doesn't want to keep him locked in a cage in her heart because she wants to liberate herself. So the forgiveness is for her. I'm just not going to hold on to this hatred. I'm not going to hold on to this resentment. I'm not going to hold on to this constriction in myself. So that the forgiveness is not about it's okay what you did. It's about I'm not going to hold on to all this constriction in myself because it's not good for me. So that's what she meant by that. Now, I don't think I'm there personally, and nor do I think anybody should force themselves to go there.
And also, there's a many major differences.
Yeah.
But she's not trying to be in a present moment adult relationship with Hitler.
Yeah, that's true.
This is not, children and their Adolf parents.
Yeah, yeah,
Or parents and their Adolf children. She's not. He's in the past. He's in the rearview mirror. He's gone.
yeah.
She wants nothing to do with him, and she would want nothing to do with him.
That's right.
It's much more complicated when you're trying to be in some kind of relationship that honors them as, of course, in our hearts we want to, and as the Torah and the Bible and the Quran enjoin us to, and at the same time do what Cooper's talking about, which is honoring the life they gave her. And when those two things are in tension, two separate words, intention, that's attachment versus authenticity in the adult. And it's a tug of war, and it's a sort of needle to thread somehow. And each of us are going to do that in our own way.
Yes.
What's coming through for me? So my dad, I disrespected is what I disrespected growing up. I did not respect him as a man and as my father in a lot of ways, and felt really shamed and judged by him for my choices. I was never allowed to talk to boys. I was never allowed to leave the house. So I was very defiant. I would sneak out. I would go talk to boys just because he told me I couldn't.
Yeah.
So we had a really strong dynamic. And when I was 14, I decided to completely cut him out. And I made sure that I could live with my mom, where there was no discipline. And I completely raised myself. And he was dead to me for like 4 years. Didn't speak to him, had him blocked on everything from 14 to 18. And then I found out his dog passed away on Father's Day. So I reached out, and he was just like, so shocked to hear from me. And so since then, it's been a slow build. I'm 26 now. And I was 18 then. I had a big, what I call my heart human awakening when I was 21 that happened through working with children, awakening to my own inner child, and having this huge heart-opening experience where I was led to heal in a sisterhood of women, and they held space for me and helped me see all the ways I wasn't present and loving my reality and myself through my relationship with my parents, and helped me have perspective into compassion for them, which I had never entertained that idea. And that led me, that same week, like I woke up the next morning, it was like I was fully reborn. I felt like I was in Christ consciousness, and it led me to go heal with my grandmother who lives in LA. And I wasn't spending any time with her, and I spent 8 hours with her doing detective work about my dad's upbringing and his history and his wounding and why he is the way he is. And from that point, it was like he was rebirthed in my consciousness. Mm-hmm. And I called him and I was like, Dad, I want to come see you. And he was like, is this my daughter? Mm-hmm. Like, he didn't even recognize me in my voice because there was such a change of heart. Mm-hmm. And I showed up and I made amends. I never thought I needed to make amends. I'm like, he's my dad. He should do, he should. And so of my own accord, in connection with my own connection with that energy, I came and I made amends, and he cried. I've never really seen him cry other than when my mom left him when I was 5. And then my stepmom, this is how I really honor him. Even though I don't agree with their dynamic or the way that she was toward us, in honoring her, I'm honoring him. Mm-hmm. So I've had to learn to honor her deeply and understand that I'm not always going to fully be seen in my truth, and I can do it in doses. Yeah. But forgiveness and compassion have really allowed me to reestablish my relationship with my father.
Beautiful.
And what did that do for you internally?
Peace. I feel a lot more peace.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.